I actually wrote an intro. Can you believe how unbelievably cringeworthy that is? Episode 4, people. Here we are. We're back. I am incoherent with rage and yet so full of jubilance and enlightened rationality. Oof. Insanity. And I can be trusted with heavy equipment. Yes, sir. I used to work on chainsaws for a living. Husqvarnas and... Okay, not just Husqvarnas. They call me the man of steel or something. Only real chainsaw slackers are allowed to get that one. Welcome back. Episode 4. You people are the light of my life, and we are all children of production. We are people of the sun, and I am so ready for that mothership to swing down and pick me up. I'm scared, and I want to go home. The older kids are smoking pot in the basement, and I don't know how to play pool, so I just have to stand here awkwardly in the corner and hope they think I'm a wall fixture. It's election day. Tomorrow's election day. It was Halloween. It was my friend's birthday. I had a party at my house for Halloween and my friend's birthday, and I visited a college, but not for myself, and it was also my parents' college, but now my brother is there, continuing the legacy in sports media production. What a long, strange trip it's been. What a beautiful life. And I'm having to come to terms with the fact that my celebrity crush is the lady with the body paint from that one Dave Matthews Band music video. And what a beautiful show we have for you all tonight here at the Kit Kat Club. The girls are beautiful, the boys are beautiful, and life here is beautiful. Willkommen, bienvenue, welcome, and I've exceeded my cabaret reference quota in a disgusting amount already. Enough of that. It's quite enough of that. Before we start, let's hydrate. Hydrate or die straight, am I right, fellas? Yeah, love you people. What are we drinking tonight? We have a nice glass of apartment tap water. We do have a Brita, but I don't know if anyone's filled it, and frankly, I'm too scared to check and risk the disappointment. I got this awesome glass mug that I really love at the Amvet's thrift store. It looks like it's meant for beer, but it doesn't seem big enough to justify beer, and it says... in like red serif font, Engineer Ball. Yeah, not two, just one. I blame testicular cancer personally. And then a picture of a castle, and it says Fort Hood, 1998. And it turns out what these words pertain to is a group of military artillery engineers in Fort Hood, stationed in Fort Hood. I don't remember what state. It's giving very Midwest princess civilian casualty engineering technologies firm convention. And now it's mine. Loud ass chair break over. I want to keep insisting this is not a car show, but we all know that's a lie. The same way that it being a comedy show is also a blatant lie and an offense to anyone who takes the practice seriously. But I do want to talk about trucks for a minute. As I mentioned, tomorrow is election night, the day night of Tuesday, November 5th or so, my roommates have informed me. And I was driving yesterday. I was driving back from the pharmacy at 7 in the morning, which, for anyone who happens to know me personally, is a bizarre, out-of-place piece of context because usually I'm halfway through my night of sleep at 7. And I was coming back from Walgreens. I had my Starbucks chai latte, also a once-in-a-lifetime occurrence. And I start coming up on this, it's like a mid-2020s model Nissan Frontier, little quad cab pickup. And I'm looking closer. He's got like the typical rear window corner bumper stickers going on. And you can tell a lot about a driver by the placement and implications of their bumper stickers. That's my personal favorite game to play on the highway. And as I got closer, I saw at least one blatantly that said Biden, so I could only assume the word before it was fuck. And I was right. And I started reading the rest. And they all said the same thing, but in different words. This guy had 5 different stickers on the rear window of his Nissan Frontier that all say, "I disapprove of Joe Biden and his policies," in different words. And I thought that was beautiful, not in a political sense, but in the pure simplicity. In the simplicity of this man's views are so base that he wants to fill the space, the canvas of his back window as an artist. I appreciate the artistic approach, filling the space to maintain visual weight. But with such a clear opinion that all you can do is repeat the same thing. I think we've all met individuals like this, and I thought that was so funny. I didn't get a look at who this man might have been, because there was another truck swerving around behind me. God forbid I do 45 and a 40, and eager to pass me at the nearest opportunity, which he took with almost blowing a red light. Must be a rush to get to the job site. As we know, us blue-collar individuals are always so eager to get back to our tasks, says the college design student. Days before, I encountered another truck. I was driving back from the university my brother had recently enrolled at. It was I guess, I'm not kidding, it is technically a legacy school for us, and that's like the most suburban white shit I think I've ever said. That we are a legacy family here. Shut up. And it was probably 10 p.m. because I made it a day trip. I was bombing down the highway, westbound and down in my '03 Forester. Really turning some RPMs at a blistering 62 miles an hour, because that car is geared to pull trees out of the ground. And again, on my right, I start coming up on a truck which I hold a much more negative opinion of than the Nissan Frontier. It had to be a 23 or 24 model GMC Sierra. Not to disparage the Sierra, the GMT 800 and 400 models, and the 900 I think are some of the best looking, modern trucks ever made. This thing is a monstrosity and affront to visual artists. Anyway, it costs $80,000, and this guy's going to be paying it off for the rest of his life anyway. I'm immediately judging him in a similar manner when I see what he's chosen to drive. And I start passing him because I'm going barely the speed limit in the middle lane. And he's doing like 4 or 5 under. And I'm like, all right, this guy's got to be wasted or just dumb or both. I mean, to spend that much on a truck, there's got to be something at play. Mental illness, perhaps. But as I began to pass him, on my cruise control no less, I look up with a disdaining eye, and it's like a 50-something-year-old guy, sunglasses on, pitch black night, leaned back, head practically in the back seats of the truck, like, I'm talking full dynamic reach, leaned over up to that steering wheel. Dude was laid back like he was in a Formula One car, just cruising. And he had one of those little desktop disco balls on the dash with the RGB lights that shine on it. And it looked like I just saw this guy's silhouette against like a nightclub background inside of his truck. And I suddenly felt so bad. I felt no less worse about his truck and the poor financial decision he made, but the environment he had created within it was so unique and fascinating, and I took back everything I was thinking. I thought, damn, we might be getting nowhere fast, but I wish I was feeling any of what that man was right now. It was just him, too. It was a quad cab pickup, no one else inside. And I hope that he is a free and happy soul for whatever it's worth and for whatever he does. Everyone's car is broken right now. Over the last 4 weeks, I mean, but in a server that a bunch of us maintain to kind of keep tabs on our local car club and the local scene, it seems like every 2 days, like clockwork, someone's vehicle goes down in a catastrophic and bizarre way. Now, we're in the recovery stage of the anime now, the redemption arc. I think it's called, where everyone starts, putting their bank accounts to work, what little we have, and, getting things back on the road in equally bizarre and unknowable ways. But I don't know if it's just the temperature change or just this is in the modern age the form that God's wrath takes. But the Audi is dead, the Miata is dead, both BMWs were dead. Ironic that those are both back on the road, isn't it? The Jag is dead. I said I was going to do Jag updates, but those are all, well, a little bit more negative than I would like for the tone of this broadcast. And the beloved donkey van is dead. The donkey van, what a machine. 2010 Honda Odyssey, 220-something thousand miles. Never been cared for a day in its life. It is, well, it's owned by a dear friend of mine who I hope to have on this show very soon. Very dear friend of mine. And it's the classic hand-me-down family car example that in his use was immediately put to work as what the modern tradesman would probably buy a 1.5-ton service body truck for, in that it hauls scrap metal and waste chemicals, waste petroleum and oil, heating oil, up to 100 gallons at times. And it has one failing head gasket, a now cracked radiator that we haven't diagnosed. It's dead in the water. Okay, the donkey van is dead and will be put out to pasture in a Viking funeral very soon, which I expect to document on this channel. We're going to put it through its paces in the most disrespectful, no, not disrespectful, because in the most violent way possible, surely, but is that not in the spirit of a Viking funeral? That the battles this van has served in are so far beyond the call of duty that it's only fitting that its demise is in a similar blaze of glory. Despite its various debilitating conditions, it pressed on. And with its replacement on the way, a Chevy truck, as we talked about earlier, beautiful old Chevy truck, real workhorse. And I guess a kindred spirit to the donkey van. We wish it well. Stay tuned for footage of us utterly decimating that Honda J-Series engine with White Claw. And though it may seem disrespectful, it's as we talked about, such a fitting end for a vehicle that has only known one way of life, right? And this is something I could talk about for hours. I think it's so fascinating how secondhand cars, shit boxes generally, are such a tapestry that you really just like weave into your life experience all the trials and tribulations and failures and redemptions and cromulent repairs and financial hardships and fluctuations and sweaty car sex and who knows what else. Everyone's got their thing. It's, it's so often this just ailing machine that's just kind of tied to you financially, depending on how well off you are as a starving artist. But, you put up with your machine, and often it will deliver unto you the services that you require it, regardless of its condition. Now, enough about cars. Let's talk about my condition. We've talked about my expeditions into ceramic art wheel throwing, namely this past semester at my college, and it's a boot camp that does not excuse the factor that you're already in boot camp for a separate task force, if that makes sense. Again, all this is alleged. We're not blaming ceramics class strictly, but it is the environment when my body has started exhibiting some new symptoms I didn't know it was capable of. Namely, the muscles in my torso have figured out how to replicate a heart attack, combined with my typical anxiety-induced respiratory failure. And that was really fun to find out before you have a concrete explanation for it. That, I'm turning my pot. I'm pulling the wall with my sponge element, as a good potter would. And suddenly my vision like clocks over, like someone whacked my eyes on the back of the retina with a baseball bat. And my focus suddenly shifts to, oh, the door over there. Am I going to be able to make it to there? Or is this actually the end? Always a humbling thought. I'm sure many of us have had that experience in various ways. I'm not disparaging anyone. This is just what my body's cooked up recently to, keep things interesting. Long story short, this began happening on a weekly basis once or twice, and it worsened all of a sudden when I woke up. I woke up after a very good rest. I was getting in those REM hours. I don't wear an Apple Watch, but I think that's what those folks call it. And I woke up, and it was just happening. Something in my chest was not functioning, at least as far as I could tell. And I got on the phone, and I actually called the doctor's office, which is a big step for me. We wish me well. And they say, oh yeah, our first appointment we have available today is at 3. This is like 8 a.m. And me being the sort of person who isn't going to call the waiter back if the dish is wrong, I say, yeah, that's fine, not knowing if I'm actually dying or not. And then I lie back on my bed, cancel all my classes, and figure out how I'm going to survive the next couple hours. When I got there, it was determined, in confirmation to my building suspicion, that nothing was wrong with my insides. My hardware was all intact and functioning as intended, which I was fairly sure of. The last time this had happened, I began tracking my heart rate, and nothing was happening, though I could see it in my vision and feel it in my nervous system. So what's happened is that my brain has figured out how to manufacture these symptoms. Is there a reason for this? Not concretely, not yet. But, well, honestly, how could there not be? The list is long and thorough, and, well, it is time to actually seek professional help, strictly for the reason of sorting through this list. And just to be clear, I associate no stigma with that process. I've become very open to dealing with these problems in a healthy way and learning how to. There's a reason I began taking psychology classes for like 2 straight years. I wanted to understand my own symptoms on a more concrete level. The body is a machine. Someone is playing very loud music outside. Fuck off. The body is a machine. It is diagnosable to an extent. Sometimes shit's just fucked, in the way that most modern General Motors vehicles are. I digress. And I've had a lot of great conversations recently with people about, their struggles diagnosing others' bodies and conditions as I said, machines. And I had an especially wonderful conversation that lasted more than 2 hours too late with a new friend of mine, someone I'd gotten to know recently. You can check them out on YouTube, actually. They have a channel with videos not unlike what we're doing here, but actually good, called Therapy Toolkit. I believe they're also on episode 4 right now. It's an unofficial race to see who can get theirs out first. But this person who I'd gotten to know recently, a brilliant individual, I think former software engineer turned to game engineer with a focus on psychological treatment and how we can do that through the medium of interactive media. Just stuff so high above my level that I just got lost in talking to them. I don't remember what we were discussing because that was a story in itself. Oh, that I have dropped any stigma I did have for this process. I've seen people go out of nowhere and come back alarmingly fast. Not to name any names or describe any situations. But we're going to tackle this. Updates to follow. I got to get up at 9 in the morning to try to deal with my problems in a couple days. For whatever it's worth, the utmost for the highest. It's not like I've not been taking care of myself. I play sports now. We've talked about badminton before. And it's something that's so interesting is like, as my internalized concepts of gender and sexuality have broken down so much over the past couple years, which has been freeing mentally. Honestly, I try not to see anything of this type as very complicated. It doesn't have to be. If you're just focusing on yourself and figuring out how to best manifest your identity. And thinking about all this, and when I go to my badminton class, which is such a silly thing to do, and I'm just like in my white boy sports clothes, and I go play my little sports games, and you can just feel like all this complexity just like melt off of you. It's so interesting. That like, yeah, I'm here. I'm sports guy now. I got this racket, and I'm gonna try to beat you in a made up game. My name is Trent or Trout or something. I don't fucking know. I weigh 170, 5'9". And if coach had put me in the fourth quarter, we would have made it to states. Fuck yeah. And then I go home, and like and my roommate brings out like a bin of like traditional Chinese dresses that he acquired. I think they were called hanfu or something like that. And we're just like trying these on. I don't feel like sports guy anymore. I think I look pretty, and there's nothing anyone can say about that. Like, if you got a problem with that, chances are you just don't, and you need to go to Goodwill and fix your shit, okay? Side note, those are fascinating pieces of clothing. I'm used to just wearing like everything tight that feels like it's made of industrial materials. I was never really introduced to comfort for most of my life. I was like, oh wow, I have this like, it's a pleated like ankle length. I hesitate to say skirt because it's a unisex traditional outfit, a dress type thing, pleated with a kind of front scroll. Just kind of cinched it up to my tits and tied it off, and I was so comfortable. I like walked around in it for the rest of the evening, and that was very cool. I don't go clothes shopping much, so I like experiencing that sort of thing. Good times, bad times, people. Things have become so unbelievably complicated. In my hysteria at said complications, I clipped on my mic 2 nights ago when I was particularly heavily medicated for far more physical reasons than my aforementioned symptoms. Oh my god. I was off that Benny, so to say. That Benny and that cortisol, 2 pounds of cortisol. And I clipped on my mic. It was like 2 a.m. And what occurred to me is I can record an episode right now. The people have waited long enough. And I just like laid down on my bed and just, I don't even remember what I said. It was nothing insulting. It was just tame and dumb and probably funny, but I haven't listened to it yet. And honestly, if any of it is, I'm going to clip it in at the end of this episode. Just listen for the audio difference, and we'll find out together what was on my mind in the wee hours of the night as my conditions worsened. As for the overall conditions we're in right now, we'll just have to wait and see. You'll just have to wait and see. And I hope you're doing well. When will episode 5 come out? I don't know. Maybe I'll bring a friend of mine. I'll figure out when I'm getting home, Mom. If you want to check out some of my other work, follow DV Auto Art on Instagram. That's DV_AutoArt. And I will see you next time.